Hey guys, Sandro here from Carcraft Auto Detailing in Melbourne. Today's video is going to look at a few things, from how to revive or extend the life of a coating, prepare the paint for application of Essence Plus, and most of all a first look and review of CarPro's new top coat Gliss. Now, apart from some really basic info on the box, I really didn't have much information on this product at all, but going by the packaging and application recommendations, it would appear to be more geared towards a coating rather than a sealant. But its 6 to 12 months durability claims would have it closely linked to a very durable sealant, rather than the 2 years plus longevity that you would expect from a coating. So top coats such as Gliss, which really aren't anything overly new, do seem to be becoming a category of their own, perhaps trying to find that middle ground somewhere between a sealant and a coating. And although they've been primarily developed to be applied on top of a coating, the same can be said for many sealants out there, and you'll find that pretty much any top coat on the market can be applied just fine over bare paint on its own, as is the case with Gliss. For those of you who have followed the correction and protection video series on the Julietta QV, as well as a 6-month update on the coating and maintenance routine, this will be a 9-month update on how the paint and coating is faring. Now, going by how the coating is travelling, and it only being 9 months since its application, I would have normally waited until the 12-month point before doing this rejuvenation process. But seeing that I was given a bottle of CarPro Gliss as a Christmas present, and that I was really keen to try it, I decided to jump to this stage a little earlier than I normally would. I also want to add that this is by no means a necessary step that has to be done to maintain a coating. It's really more of a way you can extend its life and potentially get it looking and behaving like it was the day it was applied. So as always, any application of a wax sealant or coating should start with a decontamination wash process of the vehicle if you really want that protection to not only last, but also look and protect your car's paint to its best ability. I'm just going to cover it briefly here, as I've done plenty more in-depth videos about this process in the past. But I'll also add that this process should really be tuned and adapted to your particular vehicle and the level of existing environmental contamination on the paint and surfaces. So for example, this car being ceramic coated and living outside 24/7 means that after the initial decon wash, I'll be using an iron removal chemical to further aid in removing that minor fallout. But being coated means that I won't be using clay to mechanically remove those contaminants, as it will abrade the finish and compromise the coating. And if the paint was still feeling a little rough, I'd then step up to a traffic film or tar remover to further clean and strip that road grime off. But seeing that this car is well maintained, and by filling the paint, I just don't need to do that extra step or use those stronger chemicals, as the least aggressive method should always be employed rather than being overly aggressive without the need or any benefit to be had. And as I'll be getting into in a bit, I'll be using CarPro Essence Plus to further clean and rejuvenate that coating before I get to applying Gliss, so any minor paint contamination remaining will be addressed further in that step. So just briefly, my decontamination method started with an extremely thorough pressure rinse of the car, followed by a snow foam pre-soak left to dwell while I gave the rims a clean. Then a second thorough pressure rinse to remove the foam and more of the existing looser grime, and a safe hand car wash using a spray bottle to apply the detergent and a hose to rinse off the wash mitt, as I've covered as well in a previous video. The paint was then covered in a layer of Iron X fallout remover and left to dwell for about 5 minutes, pressure rinsed again, dried, and then a final wipe down using CarPro razor finished this process, all of which was about 2 hours work. So now a little on CarPro Essence Plus. I'll also add that it's not necessary to use this product before applying gliss. But since my coating is 9 months old and gliss is by no means a cheap product, I really want to get the absolute best performance and finish possible, which Essence Plus should greatly aid in providing. For those of you who are new to this product, Essence Plus does contain similarities to the original or standard CarPro Essence, in that it actually finishes with a durable semi-permanent sealant that also has the ability and benefit of filling in minor scratches and acting as a base coat sealant. You can then add a top coat too. But unlike the original Essence, Essence Plus doesn't contain any abrasives, so it's not actually a polish, but rather contains cleaning agents and solvents that will work quite effectively in removing environmental fallout and certain blemishes such as water spots and even light oxidation without compromising your coating or abrading and removing it. But the added bonus is that it will also work well to remove any existing wax or sealants still present on the paint that will compromise the durability of a top coat such as gliss. Essence Plus is really an extremely easy product to use. So quite similar to how you give your paint a light polish, it works much the same. A few small drops added to your machine pad, work in small panel sections at a time with very light pressure, and 4 or so sets of passes on a mid-machine speed is pretty much a general guide of application. Dusting should also be quite minimal, and the wipe off should be super easy with no mess or fuss. In fact, I personally like to finish a whole panel before I wipe it off to give the solvents a little more time to work, which doesn't affect the easy wipe off whatsoever. Now one thing that is quite important to note and to get right with this product is your pad choice. CarPro do recommend their gloss pad for Essence Plus, which is a very light finishing pad and the one I'm using. However, you can actually further tune your results by using certain more or less aggressive pads depending on the existing defects and the condition of your coating or paint. So my advice for using Essence Plus, if your coating is pretty much perfect and you just want to spruce it up or prepare it for a top coat, is to use a wax or sealant application pad with zero abrasive qualities, as nothing more aggressive is needed or will have any more benefits in your results. Now if it's not perfect but pretty close to it, I would go with CarPro's recommendation of the gloss pad or really any decent soft finishing foam pad, as it'll only provide a slightly increased cleaning ability over a wax or sealant application foam pad. But if your coating is a little more far gone with water spots, oxidation and light blemishes, or you want to remove a more stubborn or recently applied sealant, I'd recommend using a microfiber finishing pad, which will provide a more thorough paint cleansing ability yet still be gentle enough as to not attack your coating or compromise it, as long as you do work your machine in the light polishing manner I described. I'd really discourage you from using Essence Plus with any more aggressive foam compounding or even polishing pads, as the surface of those pads is alone aggressive enough to abrade your paint or coating even without the use of polishers or compounds. Whereas microfiber finishing pads, in my experience, are a little different in that they do require an abrasive product to activate or make use of their polishing or cutting abilities. But with that said, Essence Plus can be used on almost any car surface, including glass, lights, metal, and most shiny plastics. I just avoid it on rubber and most matte or textured plastics. And you can certainly apply it by hand as well, it just takes a little longer and a little more elbow grease. Now, if you're just looking to revive your coating or paint, you can certainly stop right there. And Essence Plus will make a great standalone sealant or top layer to your coating. But if you're going to be applying a top coat over it, I would strongly recommend giving it a minimum of 2 to 4 hours to fully cure and allow the solvents to dissipate before following up with Gliss or any other top coat. So finally, onto CarPro's new top coat Gliss. Since I've had the chance to play around with it on some test panels before applying it to this car, I can certainly tell you that it's really along the lines of a coating rather than a sealant, though it's still a little different again. Its flash time is actually super quick, much like Sequart's U.K, if not quicker. So there really is no messing about when you apply it, in the way that it's pretty much a wipe on and immediately wipe off procedure. The biggest difference, however, and something new to coatings, is its hazing or chalky flashing look that really is quite obvious to see and should allow people who struggle a little with knowing when to wipe off or level down a coating a much clearer indication. But having said that, in the 30 degrees Celsius day I was applying it, 1 minute was actually too long to wait, and it hardened to the point I had to reapply it in order to remove it. So at least here in Melbourne over the summer, it really flashes instantly and needs to be wiped down within 30 seconds. One tip that should really help you out as well is to do no more than 1 row of vertical and horizontal swipes when you apply it, as if you continue with a third or fourth, it will flash before you even finish applying it, and it'll not wipe off without a struggle or by reapplying it. But once you know that and work appropriately small sections at a time, it really is quite an easy product to apply, and the wipe off is a little more forgiving than your standard coating in that it won't smear or be more difficult to see any high spots you may have missed. So it really would be quite a good coating for someone who has never applied one or has struggled with applying coatings in the past. Now, I actually applied a second coat pretty much after I finished the first, which was about an hour later, and just like layering most coatings, you'll find the second coat to flash just a touch quicker and feel a touch stickier, but really nothing overly different to the first. And 12 hours is the official full curing time for Gliss, which puts it at a much faster rate than your standard coating. I'll also add that this really is a more hybrid coating in that it won't harden like your standard coatings, which can be seen by the suede applicator not stiffening up even 24 hours later. So it really is a more middle ground product that bridges the gap between a sealant and a coating, but it has its own priorities and goals to achieve. So the next question has to be, how good does it look and feel? I have to say that after I was done with both coats of Gliss and took a step back to admire the finish, I was pretty damn impressed on how amazing the red paint was, just beaming with light and a new level of intensity. And I'll tell you that after I pulled it outside later that evening, I honestly believed that it looked better than the day I coated it 9 months ago, which I honestly wasn't expecting. Yes, I was expecting it to look great, but it did exceed those expectations. But I have to add that this really was a combination of using both Essence Plus and Gliss that got that amazing finish. The feel when you run your hands over it is really silky smooth as well, and I'd say it's got a slight edge over Reload in that respect. Now, you can go that extra step again and top it with a sealant such as Reload, but I'm actually going to leave it as I'm really interested to see how long it lasts, how resistant it is to water spotting, and how well it protects the coating down the track, which I'll hopefully have some info on in the coming months. I'll leave you with some water behaviour footage I took the next day, but it's safe to say that it's quite a hydrophobic top coat with some mouth-watering beads to be seen. I really hope you guys found this video useful. Please like, comment and subscribe to show your support. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.